What's going on, Pokemon Go trainers? Welcome to episode 23 of the Lured Up Creator Series, the podcast bringing your favorite content creators to talk about their work, process, and the game that brings it all together, Pokemon Go. Lured Up is part of the Pokemon Professor Network. Today is Saturday, January 9th, 2021. I'm your host, Ken Pescatore, and this week I'm excited to be joined by Joseph Ard. Joe Ard from the Pokemon GO Podcast. Joe, what's up, man? Welcome.
Hey,
welcome to the show.
I'm glad to be here, Ken.
Dude, I'm psyched, man. I'm psyched that you're here. This is great. It's a long time coming, man. It's great. I'm psyched.
Oh, yeah. I've been looking forward to this. We started talking, December, I think, about getting this going. And I'm very excited to be here.
No, that's awesome, and I'm definitely looking forward to digging in. The Pokemon Go podcast was one of the first shows that I heard in the Pokemon Go space, so I'm definitely excited. You guys were an awesome inspiration to everything that we have going over here on the network because you were one of the first that we were listening to for Pokemon Go. So that's really good. But why don't you take a moment, introduce yourself, let us know where you're from, tell us a little bit about the Pokemon Go podcast, and we'll start there.
Yeah, so I am Joe Ard, or Joseph Ard, whichever you prefer. And so with Pokemon Go Podcast, in its original form, was actually started by Bo York. I don't know if you know Bo York or have heard of him, but I used to listen to one of his other podcasts. He does quite a few podcasts, actually, but one of his other podcasts, Flash TV Talk, and on there he was like, hey, I heard about Pokemon Go. I want to start a podcast about it. If any of my listeners are interested, send me a little sound bite, and I'll get back to you. And so that's actually how Pokemon Go Podcast got started.
That is insane. That's so cool, man. That's awesome. That's that's very cool. That's a very interesting origin story. That's not what I expected. That's pretty cool. So it was like you literally wrote in, and then he contacted you, and then you got in front of a mic together. That was awesome. That's great.
Yep. It started off with just a headset mic, and this was even before Pokemon Go launched. Like, this was our first episode dropped around Halloween before the game came out the next year in July, and we were doing monthly episodes. But when the game actually launched, Bo was like, "All right, bye, I'm out," and he actually sold the podcast to Giant Size Team Up, the Giant Size Team Up network, and that kind of actually blindsided me. I didn't realize he was planning on doing that. Although in hindsight, some of the things he had said beforehand, there was a bit of hinting that was his plan from the get-go. I think he was just trying to lock down the name and then sell it to somebody. But
dude, you got that sweet SEO on that name. You can't get any better than that, man. That's good shit. It's like that's the way to go. Pokemon Go Podcast. You can't get any easier to find than that. That's fantastic.
Yep. Yeah. So when the game came out is basically when I met Charles McFall and Brian Ibbett, and oh man, that was quite the roller coaster. Actually, we had another host, Patrick. I only recorded a couple of episodes with him, but he was like, "Yeah, no, I'm not coming," and so
not feeling it.
so of the original 3 hosts, I was the only one that stuck around, and then I joined up with Charles and Brian, and yeah, it's been a sweet ride since then.
So what's with the current iteration of the show now? I know I see you and Charles all the time. Is Brian still involved with the show, or?
Brian hops on once in a blue moon, but he is not a regular host anymore. He a while back he was like, "Look, I've got too many projects right now, and I've got to drop one," and sadly it was Pokemon Go, and so. So he still comes on every now and again. Actually, he was on, I don't know, maybe about 4 or 5 episodes back. And okay. And he still pops up in our Discord and shares what he's doing in Pokemon Go. And we have a group text with him and some of our listeners that we do a bunch of remote raids with. And
oh, nice.
And so yeah,
good stuff.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff. So yeah, he's
awesome.
Still involved in the background, but he's not a host anymore.
And tell us about Charles. I wish Charles was here, man. He just seems like an absolute fucking riot to not only record with, just in general. He's just hilarious. I crack up whenever I listen. But so you're co-host of the show now, Charles McFall, the rock god of podcasting. Speak for Charles, like all the things that you would want to say with when he's not here. Tell us a little bit about Charles.
So Charles, he bought the Pokémon GO podcast, right? Back when it first started. He had no idea about anything Pokemon at all. So
which I love, by the way, which is fantastic.
So Pokémon GO was his introduction to the Pokemon franchise, and it actually brought an interesting dynamic. Me having played Pokemon, either the card game or the video games, since I was a teenager, and him, in his 40s, just barely being really introduced to it. I mean, he had definitely heard of Pokemon before. There's very few people in the modern world that haven't. Right. But yeah, and so it actually provided an interesting dynamic where he was learning about the lore and things like that for the first time, and he didn't realize just how dark some of the actual lore is when you get into reading some of the Pokedex entries and things like that. And so he's been rather surprised at some of the actual lore versus what his perception of the franchise was.
Yeah, you're like, it was the guy writing the Drifloon Pokedex entry, like, was he having a bad day, or is he just that fucking twisted? It's like, even like Gengar, like, and it's funny to read the different Pokedex entries from different generations and like to hear the different takes of the writers from generation to generation. It's like, all right, this one isn't so bad, and then some of them you're like, yeah, this is dark, man. This is twisted. Like, I feel bad, but no. But Charles, if you're listening out there in the ether, wish you were here, and we'll definitely have to connect again soon. But you said you've been part of the Pokemon franchise since you were a teenager. So this franchise has kind of been in your lifeblood, for the past 2 decades in one form or another.
Oh yeah. Started off with the Game Boy games. One of my cousins actually gave me blue version, but it was a blue version that didn't save. Now that I'm an adult, it's pretty obvious that the battery was dead, and I probably could have figured out how to replace it and do that, because those early generations, they had that issue with the battery. Yep. But it didn't save. So I every time I played it, I started brand new. So I got really good at the beginning of the game.
Yo, you were the Route 1 master.
Yep. But even then, I still beat the Elite Four a couple dozen times as a teenager, and so, but whenever my friends needed a starter Pokemon to trade, they knew who to go to, because
you wouldn't have any like connection. You're like, it's all right, I'll get another one. It's fine.
Yeah, here, I'm about to turn this off. Is there any of these Pokemon you want?
That's hilarious. Now, what about Pokemon Go? So like you play these games your whole, over the last 2 decades, but what was it about Pokemon Go that made you say, like, I want to broadcast, I want to get in front of a microphone and share this with people? Did you just like go head over heels for the game, or was there something about it that just clicked with you?
To be completely honest, I wanted to podcast about it because I wanted to have someone to talk to about it. That's originally why I wanted to join the Pokemon Go podcast that Bo was starting, because I wanted to talk about, I wanted to dwell in the hype, because I mean, like I said, we started it before months before it came out. I mean, October to July, that's what, nine months.
Yeah.
And so just listening to the news that was pretty sparse at the time, but our predictions, most of which were very, very wrong. But I wanted to have those conversations and to talk, and internet forums only go so far. You know,
Sure.
actually talking to somebody makes a big difference.
Oh, that's one of the cool things with Pokemon too, and we'll get to this when we talk about the community. But we're a passionate bunch. You know, we really care about nuance, and we care about a lot of the little things. So, you know, the secret is in that sauce. So when you find someone that'll stir that sauce for you, you know, it's like, all right, now we can have a conversation. So I love that. I feel the same way. Now, fast forward to today. What's your favorite way to engage with Pokemon Go? Like, what kind of trainer are you? Are you raiding? Are you doing PvP? Are you shiny hunting? What's your a typical day in the gameplay life of Joe Ard?
Well, now that I don't know about most people's lives. Well, I think most people are stuck at home, but I've been pretty much stuck at home since March. Because of all the craziness out there right now. And so, luckily though, Niantic has done a pretty good job of expanding, the number of spawn points and things like that. So, I actually have 5 or 6 spawn points at my house. Now I don't have any, stops or gyms or anything even remotely close to me. But you know, having those spawn points between that and having incense, I'm able to do a fair bit from home. And then whenever I take a trip out of the house, I always have my plus with me, and I'm making extra stops here and there simply to, you know, battle some gyms, do some raids, and then, like I said before, I've got that text conversation. So I've been raiding whenever someone pings me and says, "Hey, we're doing."
I got a party hat Wurmple here. Let's go. Let's do it.
and so I've actually 2020 was the year I probably spent the most on the game simply to buy those remote raid passes.
Hell yeah, you're not the only one.
Yeah. I mean, Niantic made, what was it, $1.92 billion in revenue this past year.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, and so those remote raid passes, they better not go away.
No, they can't, dude. They can't go back on that. I mean, they've promised, and it's not a good promise, but they've promised that this is a discounted rate, that we're paying, 250 Pokecoins, $2.50 in the States for 3 passes. When those prices go up, it's gonna suck. But I'm confident it's still gonna happen. But I don't think anytime soon. I think June of next year we probably will see a lot of things change in the game. That's when they extended those I hate to call them COVID bonuses, but like the stay-at-home bonuses of improved incense and all that stuff. All that stuff sticking around till June. So I'd assume that we'll probably see a lot of the stuff starting to dial back and return to normal. I mean, I think that's a fair, play of saying, all right, we've got another 6 months to get our shit together with, getting things under control. But who the hell knows? Yeah. So I know that, you're saying Bo had a history with podcasting. I know Charles is all over the spectrum and very, very involved with podcasting outside of the show. What about you? And you doing any other shows? Like, what's your history with podcasting proper? Are you exclusive to the Pokemon Go podcast, or do you have other stuff going on too?
Currently, the only podcast that I'm on is Pokémon GO Podcast. I'm hoping 2021 will change that. I've been working on a D&D podcast that I'm going to be doing with a couple of my brothers and a sister-in-law and some other family members. But that's, 2020 delayed a lot of things, and that was one of the things that also delayed due to, not just 2020, but also some personal issues and things like that. But yeah, we've been working on that, getting art together, getting a lot of lore set up for the world that we're going to be playing in. And yeah, so I'm hoping 2021 that podcast will come to fruition as well. But in addition to that, I've also done a fair bit with Dragon Con. I'm not sure if you know what Dragon Con is or or anything like
Yep,
that?
I'm familiar, but I mean, if you want to give a quick, and Charles is really involved with Dragon Con,
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah. He's one of the track directors for Dragon Con. So Dragon Con is I don't. It's, if not the biggest, one of the biggest fan run Comic-Con-esque conventions in the United States. It's in Atlanta over Labor Day weekend. This past year it was a digital Dragon Con, but hoping to get back to it this next year, well, in 2021, this year now, because we're in January. Yep. But so we've been a part of that. We've done a Pokemon Go live show, Pokemon Go Podcast live show each year. And so that's been awesome. I've been a volunteer for the digital media track for the past couple of years. And like I said, Charles is a track director, and a track, for those who aren't familiar, is basically a topic. So the track is the digital media track. So it covers, Twitch streaming, YouTube, all kind podcasting and things like that. And so how DragonCon works is they separate topics into tracks, and the directors of each track are in charge of scheduling panels and things like that. And so
nice. Yeah, we were trying to have PAX East panel last year, and this year, so it's like I really miss people, and I miss live events. But Dragon Con I've never been to, and I know that I'm a huge cosplay fan. I don't cosplay myself, but I mean, I'm a massive cosplay fan, and I always follow like Xavier Woods. I know is always down there and doing some sick cosplay, and there's always a lot of cool shit coming out of that event. So hopefully, hopefully things will come back. Yeah, it's so cool.
Well, and they do a parade on the Sunday morning of Dragon Con. They do a huge cosplay parade, and a lot of fun.
Yeah, nerd pride for sure, for show. Tell me about the giant size team up. So I know you said that the Bo had sold the rights to the show to the network, and then correct me if I'm wrong. Charles is involved with the network too. Is it his network?
Yeah, so he's one of the leaders of the network. They've kind of dialed back how much the network is involved, or even its outreach. We're still part of it technically, but it's not as big as it used to be. To be honest, a lot of the shows have gone their separate ways, or only loosely connected to the network still. Because podcast networks are an interesting thing. Because a lot of times, to be completely blunt, a lot of times I wonder, what's the point of being part of a network? But then at the same time, there's cross promotion. There's a lot of benefits. So cross promotion is good. Being able to have easy access to guest appearances on other shows, especially if they're topics that you're interested in, but maybe not necessarily have the time to commit to a full show. Then you could guest on it. For instance, with the Giant Size Team Up Network, I guested on a couple of different shows, Breaking the Panel was one of the shows, and they would do, when a big movie dropped, they would have a whole bunch of guests come on from the network and just nerd out about the movie, basically. And
nice.
So that was a lot of fun. I didn't want to be full-time on that show, but being a guest was nice, and a network provides that for you as well. And then the Giant Size Team Up Network also handles a lot of the administrative stuff, like making sure that your URL is paid for and things like that.
Right.
Don't want to lose your URL, especially when we've got one of the best as far as SEO for our topic.
Dude, I've got an alert on your domain, dude. Don't let it slide, man. I'm gobbling that shit up. I've had an alert on there for like 2 years. No, that's hilarious. Well, let's talk about the show. I mean, it's tell us about the Pokemon Go podcast. Like what is it all about? When does it release? And I know you guys are on Twitch now, so tell us kind of how the show has kind of released over the years, and now you're doing it live on Twitch. So just tell us about the show.
Yeah, so it started off as just a podcast, and it stayed that way for quite some time. But within the last 2 years, we've also included Twitch, and then uploading the VODs to YouTube as well. Now, we don't get a ton of people out there live, and we don't get a ton of views on YouTube, but it allows people to see the content in the way that they want to see it. And the people that come out to the live show, it gives them, and us, a lot of great real-time feedback. Because there are times that we're discussing different content, and, just because we podcast about it doesn't mean we know everything about it. It's you're never going to know everything. And so having people there, we can be like, hey, this is what I think is going on, but correct me if I'm wrong, type thing. And there's been some clutch feedback there that has saved us from being from spreading false information. And
I've been that guy where you fuck up and then it's like you can't do anything about it for a week. You're like, yeah, I just gotta sit in this pile of shit for a week until I can clean it up. It's like, no, I believe me, I know. And we have, I run a podcast network, and we've got the Purified podcast, which is another Pokemon Go show that does live streaming on Twitch. They're the only show on the network that does it like that. And they say the same thing. It's just, it's all about that real-time dynamic, which just provides this really cool vibe and this instantaneous source of not only feedback, but potentially inspiration. I love that dynamic. When you guys made the jump, I was like, oh shit, they're really going for it. They're doing video and everything. And I thought that was really cool. So that's pretty awesome. Now tell us about your audience. What is your audience like? And a first time listener, if someone from Lured Up or different, Pokemon Go podcast were to check out your show for the first time, what can they expect? What's something that they would experience when checking out one of your shows?
So we like to keep it nice and loose. Of course, we keep there a lot of headlines and things like that, and let people know what's going on in the game. But we also love to talk about just experiences of the week, talk about how our week in Pokemon Go went. And we also talk about how our listeners, their weeks went. They'll share with us various things in our Discord or on Twitter, and we love to talk about those real experiences that people are having. And a lot of times it'll motivate me or Charles to step up our game. We're never going to be, Terry Wolf, who is just out there all the time playing, 8+ hours a day. But, being able to do a little bit more, play a little bit more, I'll be honest, if it wasn't for our audience and our listeners and our community, there's a decent chance I may have stopped playing Pokemon Go. Like, as much as I love the game, games come and go. But because of our audience and because of our community, it's kept the fire for this game burning in me. And that's huge.
I couldn't agree with you more. And specifically, I mean, even the Pokemon franchise in general, the community surrounding this game is exceptionally passionate and emotional. You get that in a lot of games, but the level of engagement, I think, is really what makes this specific Pokemon Go podcast or the Pokemon Go community so amazing for content creators, because they're so engaged. It really keeps you on your toes and it keeps you sitting up straight. And I agree with you 100% in saying that, my community has absolutely, pushed me and kept me, going down the right path. Because there's been plenty of times where I've been lazy or I've been struggling or my head wasn't there. And it's like I could turn to the community and they right the ship. So yeah, that's absolutely phenomenal. I get that vibe, and I always like to hear about that from the different creators we have on the show, because especially in this space, the community is just so freaking important and such an integral part of the content experience. So doing it live and doing it on Twitch, I'm sure that's just amplified how important that dynamic is. So that's very cool, man. That's very awesome.
Oh yeah, and being able to meet up with some of the listeners in real life has been fantastic as well. You know, going to Go Fest and seeing people there. But then I've also had several of our listeners who, now they didn't come specifically to Chattanooga for me. You know, I live in Chattanooga, Tennessee, but they were here for other reasons, and they made it a goal to specifically come out of their way to meet me and spend some time with me while they were in town. And that's been fantastic experiences, being able to play the game with people that, you know, I've talked to via a keyboard and via a computer and stuff like that. But being able to put actual faces to it and get some real experiences has been amazing as well.
Yeah, definitely. Hell yeah. And as far as you and Charles are concerned, what's your typical approach in covering Pokemon Go? And I always like to pick the brains of creators that err on like the side of news and reporting. And of course, that's what we always get, you know, out of podcasts, because the community is so passionate that there's a lot of times where topics split the community down the middle. And I'm always interested in hearing how that balance is kind of conveyed through content. So when it comes to, you know, covering something in the news, like I know the Mr. Rhyme thing was, you know, one of the latest ones that kind of had everyone split down the middle. What's your approach when it comes to covering topics like that? Managing emotions, dealing with conflicts between the community and the hosts. Is there any time where, you know, you have to walk that tightrope of trying to balance your own perspective without alienating like a certain segment of your audience? Like how do you typically deal with that when you're, you know, creating your show?
We definitely express our own personal opinions on all of the different topics, but we also try to see things from other perspectives, because we realize that this is a game that is played many different ways. There's a lot of different ways to play it, and our way is there is no right way. As long as you're having fun, then it's the right way for you. And so we talk about our own personal opinions on it, and this is also a benefit of doing the show live, is we ask our audience for their views on it, because some of our regulars especially are really big into PvP, whereas Charles and I are not. And so when a specific topic comes up related to PvP, we try to get opinions from those that are more vested in that topic. And so we'll ask about that. We've got several listeners who are in Australia, and they tend to get in on betas for different experiences. So we'll ask them,
right.
We'll ask them their opinions on it. And we also look at community feedback, especially on the Sylph Road subreddit. We'll look at comments and see kind of what the feel of the community is. Because a lot of times what the community wants is completely different than what Charles or I want out of the game. And so we don't try to go on the tightrope per se. We try to cast a wide net.
Nice. Okay. No, that's actually a great way to put it into perspective, because like you said, there's so many ways to play this game. There's no wrong way to play this game unless you're breaking the rules and stuff or something like that. But, you know, I find myself, you know, struggling with that, to try to make everyone have everyone be satisfied with the coverage of the game, because there is so much to it. And it's like, man, I really want to dig into PvP for 15 minutes on the show, but do I really want to dedicate a quarter of my show to, you know, a topic that less than a quarter of my audience would be interested in it. Like, it's a really hard juggling match for me. So it's always interesting to hear all those different perspectives. But I have to ask you, and now Charles isn't here, so you can tell me the truth. Is he really like a straight up filthy casual? Because I love when he gets like Pokemon pronunciations wrong and dates wrong. Like, I love that shit. And it's like I can hear you in the background going, and it's like he's just going off. I'm like, dude, this is fucking hilarious. Like, is he as much of a filthy casual as he says he is?
Yeah.
That's so great.
So, I love it. I used to every now and again I still correct his pronunciations, but
don't do that ever again. Let him say it wrong. It's the best part.
He leans into it, and there's some pronunciations he just completely refuses to change, like Electabuzz. He throws an R in there. Electrabuzz is how he pronounces it, and he refuses to say it any other way.
Yeah, when he's adding syllables, that's the good stuff. That's the secret sauce.
So.
Now, when Brian was on the show, I know he was pretty hardcore, right? Like I remember hearing him say like, "Oh yeah, this was well before remote raids, but saying like, oh yeah, I was out and did a raid train. We did 10, 15 raids. Like he went pretty hard on it, right?
Yeah, he definitely did. He's really big into biking as well. And so he would be playing Pokemon Go while out on a bike ride, and he would stop and do raids or just catching with the gacha. Because I think all of us have a Go Plus and a gacha. Charles prefers the gacha. I personally prefer the plus. But yeah, so he went. He still goes really hard with it, and he actually has has a gym that he can see from his house, and so he'll boot up the game just to see if a raid is going on over there, and he'll walk over to it and do raids.
Yeah, man, I'm spoiled like that too. Pretty much a stone's throw from my house. I've got 2 stops, 2 gyms. From my house, I mean, I can see 7 gyms, but 2 of them are literally like 100 feet away. So it's like, it makes it easy to do raids, especially when they're, they're just like little throwaway raids, tier 1, tier 3 now, but it's like, all right, I'll do an Among Us. Sure. Why not? It's like, it's right there. I might as well do it. But no, that's awesome, dude. I'm still hung up on casting a wide net. I fucking love that. That's great. That's super good. I'm hung up on that.
Well, and one of the reasons why I'm so sad about working from home since March is my work has quite a few stops and gyms at the office. So because there's one of my coworkers was big into Ingress, and so he went around and was submitting points of interest a ton, and he actually would go in to the street maps and modify some of the stuff, because one of our gyms is technically on a park, like it's a tiny little, like 50-foot square park that has a couple of cannons and some statements about like the Civil War and stuff like that. It's a tiny little thing, but it's technically on a park. So he made sure that the street maps reflected that it's a park, and he got that turned into an EX raid gym.
Nice.
Now, I don't think there's ever been an EX raid at it, but it is technically eligible. But having 3 gyms at work, plus we have a Discord set up just for my work. And so we would be like, hey, this Pokemon is here at work, or there's a raid going on. Can we get some people to go? And so I do miss that interaction not being in the office, because we had enough people that we could go and do raids, take a short little break and go do
all of a sudden, for some reason, like 8 employees from various departments all have to use the bathroom at the same time. That's great. No, yeah, I would hear about that too. And you say, oh yeah, my lunch break, go down to the lobby and hook up with the crew. That's pretty cool. That's awesome.
Yep. Yeah, and we had a shuttle that would take us downtown. So if I wanted to do a bunch during lunch, I would do that. I would take a shuttle downtown, or even with a group, and we just walk around taking gyms and catching Pokemon and doing raids.
Nice. That's awesome. That's super cool. All right. Well, let's talk about podcasting a little bit, because it's not often I have podcasters on the show. I've the past couple creator series, I've had some podcasters on. I had Chris from GoCast. I had Salt and Nar from Pokemon Go Radio. Now I've had you on. So I love talking about the podcasting format, because I'm exceptionally passionate about it. I'm an advocate for the format. I'm constantly promoting it, and I think that it's still in its infancy when it comes to entertainment penetration, because there's just so many people out there that know what podcasting is, but they've never listened to a podcast. So what is it about podcasting that's kept you engaged with the format, at least for the last, 4.5 years while you've been doing this show?
What's great about podcasting is it has a very, very low requirements for entry. When I started podcasting, I was using a headset, and using just a headset with a headset mic. And what I tell people all the time when they're thinking about doing a podcast is your audio doesn't have to be amazing. It just has to be good enough that it's not annoying to listen to. And other than that, just start, just go. And there's so many tools out there that'll help you. Like a lot of people are like, oh, but how do I host and things like that? Well, there's tools like Anchor FM that you can host your podcast for free on. Right. You just got to get it out there. Just start making it and put it out there, and you're gonna make mistakes along the way, but just keep going. So yeah, I've listened to a bunch of podcasts where the first 5, 6, 7 episodes they're not good. They're not.
Oh,
not
dude!
good at all.
I've gone back and listened to my old shit. It's cringe the entire time. It's like, oh my god! I hear every little pop, every burp, fart, bump, everything just comes out, and I'm like, this is killing my ears. But I've become a podcast snob. I'm really particular. It's like when I listen to other shows, I'm hearing things, and I'm like, yeah, I would have done this setting in post-production, or I would have done this. It's so difficult because I have that technical mind. But you're absolutely right. One of the coolest things about podcasting is it has a very, very low barrier to entry. Anyone can do it. If you have a cell phone, you're golden. That's all you need to start. You'd be surprised that the quality of audio you can get out of your Apple iPhone earbuds microphone. It's a decent mic on there. And it's like, if you could record, use your voice memo thing if you have to. It's like you can just record and post it on YouTube for free and get it up and out. So yeah, that's one of the things I always say too. Now, how has your podcasting progressed and your techniques changed over the years? Now you're on video, and I'm like, these, you got good lighting. Charles got, fancy fucking background and all this kind of stuff going on. How has that progression been for you over the years, starting from, having a headset to now, having dedicated gear and all that kind of stuff? And what's your setup like? What kind of gear are you using?
Yeah, so like I said, I started off with the headset. Shortly thereafter, I got myself a Blue Yeti microphone, and it's okay. The Blue Yeti, a lot of people get that as a starting microphone. It's just a USB microphone, and so it's okay, but you really have to tweak your environment to get good audio with that. So I actually had a really weird setup with it, where I had taken all of the shelves out of a wire bookshelf, put that over my monitor, and hung the Yeti from twine so that it was at mouth level. Because if I left it on my desk, every bump showed up on the recording. And by hanging it from the twine, I didn't have to worry as much about bumping. And then I also, around that wire bookshelf, I put a blanket to help catch the audio so there wasn't as much reverb bouncing off the walls and everything. But after that, when I started to get even more serious about my audio quality, I moved on to my current setup, which is a Shure SM7B microphone. That's pretty high quality microphone. The Shure SM7 was used by Michael Jackson for the Thriller album.
Yep.
And then I've also got acoustic foam on the wall in front of me. And then you were mentioning the lighting. I purchased a couple of garden lamps, I guess, garden lights that you can set for your house. And I actually have that casting light behind me, and I can change I have an app on my phone, so I can change the different colors if I want to, and things like that. Like behind me is a complete mess, but what you see on the camera is only so much, and so I make sure that what's showing up on the camera,
whatever's in frame,
is fine. Whereas, like, I've got board games and all kinds of other stuff on the floor behind me right now. I really need to clean up my basement, but yeah. So the thing about it is, you've got your studio to work with, and you just got to make sure that what's being presented is good. And my background could definitely use a lot of work, but it's not bad. When I was talking about the audio earlier, as long as it's not distractingly bad, you're fine. And so when it comes to lighting, my system or my setup is pretty abysmal, but it's not distractingly bad.
That should be that's the tagline. Not distractingly bad.
and that's what it boils down to. Like, I'm using a Logitech webcam. It's the Logitech 922, the C922X.
Right.
And a great webcam. But it's nothing. Like, eventually I want to get, an actual nice camera and everything, but this works for now. It works well for what it is, and we are a podcast first, and so my audio equipment is way better than my video equipment, but we knew we wanted to do Twitch. And actually, when we first started doing Twitch, the webcam I had was one that I had gotten for free from a work online class, and it was trash. It was wretched. And so, you start with what you've got. You jump in feet first, and you go for it. So
nice. And just to give a frame of reference here, I'm recording right now on a Blue Yeti, and I've used the Blue Yeti for probably the last 100 episodes of Lured Up. And Adam and I just got SM7Bs, so we haven't put them into production yet because we still got to get cloud lifters. We got interfaces. I'm going to be getting a Rodecaster. So we've
nice.
got some things in the hopper, but I started with a Blue Snowball, and I think that's like $100 mic. So it's like, it's not like you're saying, oh man, I want to be in a band, or I want to play guitar, and it's like, all right, I got to buy a $500 guitar, and I need a $300 or $400 amp, and I need cables, and I need effects, and I need all this. It's like, you want to be a podcaster, really, you could start with your phone, and if you want to make an investment, if you got $150, you're fucking golden. Like, you are good. You just need internet. You know what I mean? Like, you get like a PC, something to record with, and like the recording software that we use is Audacity, and Audacity is a completely free open source download. So it's like every single episode that's on the network, we've recorded through and done all 100% of post-production in Audacity, which is a free program. And are there more robust and powerful programs out there, like, Premiere or Vegas or stuff like the other higher end, editing software? Yeah, but it's like for what we're doing and for the podcast, I can get the exact end product I want out of free software. That's one of the great things about podcasting. And it's like, when I started, I needed a hobby that I could do from home. I was a family guy. I didn't want to leave the house. I didn't want to, have it be intrusive on, my son's life, or, I wanted everything to be cool. And it's like, all right, I could lock myself in a room with my tiny little setup and this tiny little desk and be golden. It was like, yes, podcasting is for me. Now, when you said, the transition to Twitch, obviously that adds the visual element, but how has that impacted the production from an audio perspective? I mean, I know you're using the same gear, but like when you record and put the episode out, is it you're just capturing your audio that you're the same audio that you get on your Twitch stream, you're just plugging in and then pushing that out to your podcast? Or are you doing some kind of manipulation after the stream to clean it up for podcast?
So Charles handles the audio aspects, but he records each of our audio on separate tracks on his own computer, and I record the video on my end and I stream from my end. And so we push the video directly to YouTube, but the audio he actually tweaks a little bit. I don't think he tweaks it a ton, but yeah, he does tweak it some, cleans it up some, and he also throws in markers because a while back we switched to Anchor as our host, and so the Anchor, you can put in timestamps if you have it enabled for ads. And so we have a timestamp there for commercials that he plugs in there for Anchor. And then he also takes the polished audio as well, minus the commercial, and throws that onto our Patreon page. So our patrons have a feed that is commercial free. And yeah, so he polishes up the audio, and it comes out a couple of days after the stream.
Nice. And you have a set schedule for your stream?
Our stream is every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/Pokémon GO Podcast.
Awesome. Yeah. And as we wrap up here, I mean, and of course, links to everywhere that you could find Joe and the Pokémon GO podcast will be, in the description. Please check them out. Follow them on socials, give them a sub to the podcast, follow them on Twitch. Super important. I love figuring out ways to have grassroots pushes to support creators. And I think that, from a podcasting perspective, I'm always looking out for podcasters. I'm always trying to do everything I absolutely can to support and help other podcasters because I just believe in this format so much. And it's so cool hearing podcasters go a little bit further beyond outside of the podcast element, like with what you're doing on Twitch and adding the visual element. I love that. That's super great. It's inspiring. But what about the 2021? I mean, this past year has been an absolute shit show. What with 2021? Any goals that you have personally? Any goals you have for the show, or even as a Pokemon Go trainer, as a player of the game? Anything you hope to accomplish this year?
I'm really, really, really hoping that GoFest has physical location again this year. While it was nice for 2020 to have it wherever you were, I really, really missed live events. Not just GoFest, but live events in general. And so
Sure.
I want to be better about actually getting out and finding some of my local people within the local Discord and actually doing more live events. Not right now just yet, but because the numbers are up. But I'm really, really hoping that live events make a comeback in 2021. And then as far as the show goes, we've got an amazing audience. We've talked about that before. Amazing community behind us, and I really need to engage more, especially on Twitter. I do have Twitter. I'll be honest, I don't use it as much as I really ought to. Maybe not this week or next week, but maybe after some maybe February. I need to get onto Twitter more and interact with people more. We've got some wonderful listeners there that contact us, and I historically I've been more reactive than proactive when it comes to social media. And so I need to buckle down and get down on that on my personal Twitter, and maybe even some on the show Twitter. In general, Charles has handled the show Twitter and the show Facebook. He's been doing that, and so I really
nice.
That's one of the things I really need to do is get more active on social media.
I think that's, whenever I speak with any creator and part of their goal is to have increased engagement back to the community, that can only breed positivity. I think that's one of the most crucial things and important things that sets podcasting apart from a lot of other forms of media, because when someone's listening to a podcast, they get that feeling. They get that feeling like they're hanging out in their room, like they know these people, we're friends, everyone's just kind of chumming it up. So when the host or, the production staff, whatever it may be, is able to connect with the community directly through social, it just adds to that real immersion of that friend dynamic. And I think that's something that all the Pokémon GO podcasts do exceptionally well in their own way, is creating this environment that's immersive for their community and their listeners that makes them feel at home. And I think that's something that over the years I've felt strongly with your show, because I've always felt that you guys have had a very unique identity to your show and the dynamic that the hosts have had. And I think that, connecting more with the community would only harbor that even further. So I look forward to seeing the great things that go on with Pokémon GO Podcast over the next year. You guys were the old school, man. It's so cool. I mean, what are you on? You're like 230 something episodes now.
I believe the episode we just recorded was 224.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I'd have to double check, but I think that's about where we're at.
That is great, man. That's so cool.
And that doesn't even include some of our the last episode was 230, but that doesn't even include some of our episodes that aren't numbered at all. So we've done some one-off episodes as well, and actually all of the episodes that I did before Charles and Brian they're not part of that number either. So we've probably got another 15 or so episodes in addition to the 230 numbered episodes. So
that's awesome. That's super cool, and it's very inspiring to see brands that have had that much life in this space and continuing to pump out content. I love that so much, and I wish you and the crew and Charles and everyone involved with the show and of course your community the best for 2021. But Joe, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. I love this. This was a pleasure to have you on. I really appreciate it.
Oh yeah, it was a lot of fun being here, Ken. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. And everyone else, this has been an episode of the Lured Up Podcast Creator Series. Please check out Pokémon GO Podcast. Like I said earlier, all the links will be in the description. Make sure you check them out and give them follows and love and support and all that good stuff. Tell your mom, tell your friends, tell your wife, hide your kids, all that good shit. No, but seriously, it's very important that we take care of our community within, and I think that you guys do an excellent job of creating an awesome environment for the community. So once again, Joe, thank you so much for coming on the show. We appreciate it.
All right, thank you for having me.
All right, keep training, trainers. We'll see everyone next week. Later.
Bye.